Welcome, everybody. Today, we're going to be exploring how to create rapid breakthroughs with your client. And this is an alternative sort of method of intervention than what's typically out there. So there's a couple things we want to look at, right? Number one, we're going to become aware of, are we working in such a way that we're oriented towards the symptom versus the root cause? Because if we're solving the actual problem that's underneath the surface, the symptoms go away, right? And then we're going to look at, and we're going to do that by looking at a typical hypnotherapy script. I just found this one online, and you can see that I've highlighted all the different symptoms, and then I've also bold and underlined, hey, am I assuming this is the cause? And blue is, am I assuming this is the solution? So red is cause, blue is solution. So we're going to be diving through this. It's just a few pages. I'm not going to do the whole thing because you can imagine this is going to get very redundant. It's just riddled with it throughout. And then we're also going to look at the anatomy of a hypnotherapy session and the way that's typically structured, and see if we can get a clue there as well. So I want to start actually with the anatomy of a typical hypnotherapy session. So let's go there, right? So, you go in, you've got your rapport, your pre-talk, your inductions, your deepeners, your script and suggestions, and you've got your awakening. And look, this is more or less, there's going to be some variation, but at a high level, this is typically what you see. And so just for purposes of demonstration here, to make this point, we're going to assume an equal distribution of time. You might say, Vin, I can do a rapid induction or a shock induction, save time there. Maybe I make my clients watch a pre-talk prior to coming in. Maybe I build rapport on a strategy call. So there's different things you can do to reduce time, but you're still having to spend time like you still got to have that strategy call, right? And there's nothing wrong with any of this, right? This is fine. Like I'm sure you get results, but if you want to get faster results and, fewer sessions, that's what we're looking at today. So, if there's 6 things here, let's assume 10 minutes per thing. That means you only got 10 minutes here to do the actual hypnotherapy, right? There you go. 10 minutes. And okay, Ben, well, I reduced time in all these other things. I'm very clever. So I'm spending 20 minutes here, 25 minutes here. It might make sense that person has to come back and see you, 4 to 6 times. By the 4th time they've come back, if they're seeing you, they're getting hypnotherapy, 10, 15, 20 minutes. Sure. Now they've got over an hour of hypnotherapy. Hopefully they've had a breakthrough. But again, are you working at the symptom level? So this is something to keep in mind. When we use the organic awareness method, we don't even do any of that stuff, right? We're just eradicating that to the extent it doesn't show up naturally in a session, right? And all we're really focused on is we're going to catch the trance organically as it comes up through the exploration of the problem. And what's really valuable about this is it means we're no longer limited by techniques and scripts, right? We're only limited by the client's unconscious mind's ability to create solutions for them. And this is such a fun way to work with folks because we know the unconscious mind's pretty vast, right? So it's a pretty cool way to work with people. And it makes things very, very fast. And their whole life changes, right? Because problems have a stickiness to them. So you help somebody quit smoking and they start a business. You'll see that on my testimonials and things like that. So let's circle back just to kind of give you an idea. So I want to provide one counter example too, just to give you, I think it helps to give you a reference frame when looking at this. One session I did, a lady hallucinated. I didn't create this, right? I don't do that. It's what came up organically within the session. She hallucinated carving resentment towards her ex-husband out of the pit of her stomach with a beautiful knife, was the phrase she used, right? That's what she needed to quit smoking. You may be shocked to learn I do not have hey, you want to quit smoking? Well, here's my script for carving the resentment towards your ex-husband out of the pit of your stomach with a beautiful knife script. I don't have that. How could I have ever known that's what she needed? I would have no way of knowing, right? But in the session, that's what we explored. That's what came up. That's what we did. She's doing great now. Right? So just to provide a counter example, there's no symptom there. Cigarettes and smoking don't even come up. But let's look at this one. So I think I counted 37 symptom-based words out of the 849 words here, and then 86 conclusions. I'm not going to go through all that. But let's do a quick overview just so you could see smoke, 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 cigarette, 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 habit, habit, habits. These are the symptoms, right? Symptoms, symptoms, symptoms. There's some more here. We see tobacco once, habit, 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 right? So this is what we're seeing here. And then what I want to do is highlight these right here are just like key points I want to highlight. So right off the bat, the title of this thing has an assumed root cause and an assumed solution. Stop smoking. That's the symptom, right? That's assuming the stop smoking is going to solve the problem, right? We're already off on the wrong foot with the title. Session 1, assuming how long this is going to take. You have no way of knowing. I've helped people quit smoking 22 minutes, 27 minutes, a bunch of people in less than 45 minutes. Those aren't even typical session lengths for most people, right? So, but we do that by solving the actual problem, not being focused on the stop smoking. So then let's look at the first line here. First of all, you're aware that you have already completely uncovered the underlying cause of your compulsive smoking habit. Wow, I didn't even highlight habit there. It's funny. So look, if we had done that, if we completely uncovered the underlying cause, the chances of we wouldn't need a script. The mind would already start to create resources around that to solve it. So, right off the bat, we've assumed something here. And let's jump to the next one here. What do I have here? So, you no longer feel the compulsion to smoke at all. We are now only dealing with a habit pattern, the hollow shell of your original problem. Again, assuming the cause. What's this one here? Habits can be broken as easily as they are created. One of the ways to do this is to make you aware of your smoking. From the very moment you reach for a cigarette, you will be extremely conscious of what you are doing. So now we're proposing a solution here. Now their unconscious mind knows more than we do, right? And we're telling it, you need to become extremely conscious of what you are doing. After I work with people, a good portion of the population, it's like they never smoked, right? It's like it's just something they just don't even care about. They're not conscious of it at all. They're conscious. They might tell people, "Hey, I talked to this guy on the internet and he helped me quit," but that's the extent of it. If you light it, you start to smoke symptom. Every moment of time you're involved in smoking symptom. That symptom, right? So symptom, 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 symptom. You can see that here. So then we've got some more here, right? The main reason you continue to smoke is because you're doing it unconsciously. Assuming that's the problem, you've not been really aware of it. Okay, good, right? Let's move on a little bit here because you could see how this is just going to get redundant. Look at this one. It will not taste as good as it used to. It will not taste, assuming that's a problem, as good as it used to, assuming that's a solution. I know folks that hate the way this thing tastes. They hate the way it smells, and they're still stuck with it. So solving that is like solving something else entirely, right? We have no way of knowing that's what this person needs. Just to sort of illustrate a point here, right? And again, it's all oriented around the presenting problem. And then let's go here. This is really good, right? You will forget about cigarettes altogether. You will forget about cigarettes altogether. Now, you'll remember earlier up here, I referenced becoming extremely conscious of what you're doing. And that I have folks that forget about smoking entirely. They don't even think about it anymore. It's like they never did it. Blows my mind. Well, I also have folks that it's like they'll call me or they'll say like, "Man, I don't know. This is crazy." It's like the whole next day I kept thinking about how I don't want to smoke, right? So I wouldn't assume that that's what they need, that they need to wipe this from their mind. And I wouldn't assume that They need to be aware of it at all. Again, because their unconscious mind, once we create the breakthrough, it builds the solution that person needs. So here we're, and then, yeah, I mean, within the context of the script itself, you could point out that there's a bit of a, what do you call it? A contradiction, but that's really irrelevant for my primary point here is that their unconscious mind has a solution. And it just kind of keeps going on like this. Here's another one. Look at this. It is easy to give up things you don't like and you don't like to smoke. And I think this was, I read this a little bit when I was highlighting it. It's easy to give up things you don't like and you don't like to smoke. I know so many people, if you talk to folks that, they go and they do some hotel hypnosis or whatever, maybe they're in a group session and folks hammer it on with this suggestion, like, bull, I love it. I've helped people quit that were really, truly conflicted, difficult work. They knew they needed to make a change, right? That's it. But they walked away from it. So the primary thing I want to point out here is we're assuming that it's easy to give up things you don't like. And we're assuming that, hey, this should be easy for them, right? I think, did I highlight that later? I'm not sure. Anyway, how do you know that what this person needs to remain smoke-free is for it to be easy for them? You see, it's almost like the client's coming into the session, they've got a stack of assumptions in their mind. I assume stop smoking. I assume the problem's a cigarette. I assume. And then now if we come in with our own stack of assumptions about what that person needs, no wonder it's going to take 4 to 6 sessions for them to get a breakthrough on average. Right? It's wild if we even get to it. So it is easy to give up things you don't like. I mean, what if what that person needs, maybe the unconscious mind saying, yo, I actually need you to suffer with this a little bit in the beginning. Because when I let this go, I don't want you to make a decision in the future to go back to it. Maybe that person needs a little bit of resistance there. I'm just throwing that out there as an example. Right. So we don't want to assume anything. That's why the processing piece of the organic awareness model is so important. Right. When we're using that organic awareness, it's like what shows up is what we're going to utilize. Right. We're not going to assume anything. So this is just something to really consider here. You begin to feel proud of yourself. And you can imagine how's that different for a client too? Now they can begin to respect and honor what they feel as they heal themselves truly, right? Versus, hey, this is what you're supposed to feel. This is what you need. If you're not feeling that, something's going wrong. Panic, freak out, right? So you can see how we're working in a different way. I've got one more here. It looks like I highlighted. You already know that no habit is stronger than the power of your mind, which created it in the first place. It is now you versus tobacco. I think what I wanted to highlight here was we've got a combination thing here. We've got a combination problem assumption and solution assumption. It is now you versus the tobacco. And this is pointing at the symptom again. Like, if we solve the problem that's underneath the surface, this all goes away. I mean, why would we assume that this person needs to struggle with it at all? So I'm basically at a high level here. I just want to point out, you could see all the assumed solutions. You could see all the assumed problems. This stuff can come up very quickly in a session, and it's easy. And you can actually get to the real problem and help them solve it. You don't need any of this stuff. You don't need pre-talks. You don't need deepeners. Let's go back to the other document here. You don't need an induction, right? You can just use the trance as it emerges within the context of the problem as we explore it. And the entire session is now hypnotherapy, right? Hypnosis may or may not occur, right? Not in any visible sense. And it won't matter because the client's just going to get the outcome they want. Right? That's what they're really coming to you for anyway. So I hope this is helpful. I hope this kind of starts to illustrate a different way of thinking. What we want to move from is, hey, I don't want to be limited by techniques, scripts. I don't want to be limited by my own conscious understanding of those things. I would rather just capture that trance organically and allow the limit the limitlessness of the client's unconscious mind to solve the problem. It's such a fun way of working with people. The pressure's completely off you. Confidence, sure, you have confidence, but you don't need it anyway, right? They're doing all the work. And you just get to watch the sort of miracle of their mind do this thing. It's pretty cool. So, folks, if you have more questions, let me know. I do have a 3-day training coming up. I'm sure I've got that linked all over. Maybe I'll link it below so you can see it. But everybody, take care. Have a great day. And